Welcome to Maple Leafs Hot Stove Podcast, episode 103. I'm Nick Ashbourne, joined as always by Anthony Petrielli. Anthony, over the last couple episodes, we've been breaking out the concernometer for what, let's say, some mediocre results, some mediocre play from the Maple Leafs. You could quibble with some of the play that's happened since we last spoke, and I'm sure we will. The beginning of the Pittsburgh Penguins game comes to mind, but the results are there.
So
They have
so does the middle of the Pittsburgh Penguin game.
yeah. Yeah, I'm classifying the beginning as the first two periods. But the results have been there. They've won 3 games, as we were talking about before we recorded. They've now won 5 of 6, which again is not the type of run we associate yet with the 2025-2026 Toronto Maple Leafs. But, with Scott Laughton coming back to the lineup and Steven Lorentz, like the forward group is getting healthy, you're starting to see the shape of this thing. A lot of what we've talked about in the last couple episodes is like what Berube wanted and how kind of weird it is that Laughton's absence created so much instability. He's back in the lineup now. And that doesn't mean that the forward group is perfect, but the forward group is healthy to the and there's a surplus of players. We're going to obviously discuss Easton Cowan heading back to the AHL, but it seems like it's starting to take shape a little bit. I think it's a little bit too early for like a mission accomplished. This team is a juggernaut, but it feels a little bit different than last time we spoke.
Yeah, I will also say we were quite positive last episode. Like there were already signs building towards them winning more hockey games last episode. Now we're starting to see them win more hockey games. I think you're starting to see further, developments. Like the Pittsburgh Penguins game is its own story. We'll bypass that for a second. But by and large, I thought the Flyers game was fairly comfortable. Like most of that game I watched, I was like, they're better than these guys. And I was one of those, sickos who had the game on my laptop while the Jays game was on TV, but I was keeping an eye on it live. And I was watching most of it throughout. I want to talk about the Jays, but throughout the game
It's
going,
okay. We don't have to.
yeah, going, I think the Leafs have this like pretty comfortably in hand. Like I felt pretty good about it the whole way through. I was in the arena. I went to the game against Utah, and by and large, I was like this is a win. Like they're gonna win this game. Even when they went down 1-0 going intermission, it was kind of like this sucks. 6th straight game they've given up the first goal. That's really bad. They need to start on time. But by and large, I actually thought they did have a good start. And
that's fair.
that game to me felt a lot like the games last year where I went, they're getting, way more scoring chances. Utah's throwing a little bit extra junk towards the Leafs net. I actually thought the Leafs carried play by and large for that game. I've said by and large way too many times already to start this episode.
I mean, if Sergachev doesn't score that soft goal, then the shape of that game feels very different, and it feels very blowout-y, which is sort of what was maybe more deserved.
It's kind of funny too, because when I was in the arena for that goal, I immediately thought, okay, did that go off somebody? Like, what happened here, kind of thing.
You want to see the replay on those ones.
Yeah, and then I obviously recorded the game and went back and rewatched it from that vantage point. The next morning, or I guess this morning, depending on when you're listening to this episode, and it's just okay, it was just a terrible goal. Like you just should not let that in, but it felt comfortable, and so I think we're starting to see a few signs of life, of things trending. We'll get into the individual player performances as part of that, but to me, this was starting to come on when we recorded last week, and they've generally continued that moving forward. And, we'll talk about this a lot throughout the year. I'll take a game where they're essentially a little bit below 50% in shot attempts. Like if they're at like 47, 48, 49, I don't care. As long as they're like winning the scoring chances. That Utah game, they were almost 62% touching. But I think they were about 47-ish, 48-ish% in terms of shot attempts. I don't care. I'll take that all day. You want to go against Stolars and eventually Joseph Woll, getting a little bit extra shots, but not getting much in the way of quality. And you want to give extra quality to the Leafs guys, who are also first in the league in 5-on-5 goals against, or goals for scored so far. all day. I'll take that. Where they get into trouble is what was happening as the season progressed last year, where that number was dipping to like 40%. And those are the issues like we've talked about and the kind of stuff where we say, if you want to play Florida and you think you're going to go 60-40 shot attempts against, I don't care what you're talking about for quality, you're going to lose that game 9 out of 10 times. But if it can trend in this way, I like their odds most nights.
Yeah, I think the only pushback I would have on that is like, 50% plus is not unachievable. You know what I mean? And it
No,
feels unachievable because that has been the pattern with this group over the last couple of years. But like you should hope and aspire to win this battle occasionally. And that, it's not like they never ever do. And I understand that you can make the math work with having good finishers, with having good goaltending, with having defense that keeps shots to the outside. Like there's ways to finagle it, but there's also a reason why the teams that generally win it all or go really deep in the playoffs are the ones who have a broader overall scope of control. And we can ignore the Carolina Hurricanes and what's happened with them over the last sort of half decade or so. It's no guarantee, but it does feel like sometimes, and there's reasons for that we've talked about with the way they break the puck out, the way they don't seem to prioritize control and possession. They want to chip things. Like there's reasons some of this stuff happens that are structural, and philosophically, it doesn't always feel like, again, the best fit for their personnel. This is a weird time for me to be trying to like pick apart everything at the seams. I'm just saying that like there is a world where you're not settling for 47, 48 all the time, and you can push further than that. And I think with the guys they have, they could do that.
Yeah, I agree. It's not to say that they shouldn't. I'm just saying on the hedge of it, that doesn't bother. It's when they're getting completely tilted and like they took it too far last year for me. But some of these more recent games, I think we're starting to see that trend of, even as part of that Utah game, I felt Utah threw a lot of junk to the net. And the Leafs don't do that. Sometimes I think to their detriment. It's like it's okay to just. It's like the one thing I like about Philip Myers, he just shoots pucks to the net. He doesn't care. He's like,
Philip Myers is a player that you can think along with very easily. Like you can get inside his brain and understand exactly what he's looking to do.
I have the puck, I'm shooting it. That's what you're thinking inside his head. So
passing's for losers.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, my D partner's wide open. No, this is a slap shot. I'm teeing up. So yeah, like some of it you're right is structurally. I will say too against Utah is I felt like that was one of the first games where they actually tried to break the puck out. Like there was probably 5 or 6 breakout sequences with just myself being in the arena where I was like, oh, nice breakout. And
I would venture that Utah's not the hardest team to break out against. It's not like I've been watching a ton of Utah, but Utah has a lot of like younger, smaller, quicker guys who are not brutalizing your defense.
They're not, but they are fast and they are annoying. Like Utah's top 10 team in terms of like shot attempt share at 5-on-5 so far. They're 7th right now.
Yeah, they've been respectful overall for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see what it looks like against Carolina. That's obviously going to be a massive test. And I'm very curious how that kind of evolves. All that to say is you're starting to see, some of those things trending to where they should be. It just depends some of it depends what site you use. You get different thoughts on different sites. But like Natural Stat has them like 14th and expected goals 5-on-5, and Evolving Hockey has them 18th. Like neither of those are great numbers, but they're trending in the right direction of things you want to see. And the thing that I'll just keep on harping on, which we're also starting to see, is like their goaltending is good, and it has not been good so far, by and large.
Yeah, and Wool, we don't know when Wool is coming back, but we know he is coming back in the sort of like foreseeable-ish future too. Like it's not just he's no longer a theoretical concept. He's someone who's going to join the team in the relatively near future.
The one that we don't know if he's a theoretical concept or not, which I know we talking about him later, is Chris Tanev. Because like we're talking about all these numbers and breakouts, and like Chris Tanev is that guy. Like he's a high-end problem solver in his own zone in terms of getting the puck out and also getting it out cleanly. He also just settles things down. He also So you watch the Jake McCabe goal against the Flyers, and him and Tanev are playing pitch and catch across the blue line. And you can't play pitch and catch like that unless you have a lefty righty dynamic. Like Tanev has the puck and his shoulders and his chest are facing forward. If you have a left-handed shot there, he's going to have his body turned. Everything's a little bit more telegraphed. Either you're making that pass across and they know right away, or you're shooting like it's an easier read. Whereas Tanev forehand, right hand shot, as I like move my body off screen.
There we have YouTube viewers,
Like
it's helpful for some people.
He's opening up his hand like this, and he can shoot or pass, and you don't know which one he's gonna do. And in that case, he makes the pass over. McCabe has a little extra, it's a split second. We're not like you're not buying yourself acres of time in the National Hockey League. You're buying yourself a little second here, a little second there. And instead, McCabe catches it clean as a lefty, taking a pass across the blue line from a righty, and quickly just sifts one through. But that's the kind of stuff that they're not going to get when you have four lefties in the lineup and one of your righties, Philip Myers, who, again, is just like, I'm taking a slap shot.
And the other one's Carlo, too, who's not exactly whipping the puck around.
Also not making plays. So, it's like Tanev isn't a playmaker, but he moves the puck well and he sees the ice well. He just can't shoot. Like, if Tanev could shoot, he would have made a lot more money in his career. Like, he genuinely cannot shoot a puck, but he moves it really well. And everything else about his game on the other side of center is elite.
Yeah,
he just can't shoot.
It's a really concerning loss. For him, it's a scary injury. Like, you never know exactly what the situation is when you're kind of piling concussion on concussion. It can go a lot of different ways. There's not much indication where that's going at this point. So, you just feel for him as a human being and for the team, as you mentioned, like there's the puck moving component, there's the penalty killing component, right? Like he's their number one right side penalty killer. There's the fact that now they don't have a true shutdown pair. It's probably going to be Benoit and McCabe, which has worked in the past, but not what you necessarily want at the highest level against elite players. And it's time for Carlo to be really good. Like this is the time. Like he sort of floated along, and he has not been a train wreck since they've acquired him. But I'd say he's been sort of slightly below expectations along the way, and now it's like it's time to play more than 20 minutes a night. And it's time to, we've seen him block a lot of shots in the last couple of games, and that's been a good development for him. But it's time for him to be like, not just not noticeably bad. He needs to be noticeably effective. And that's not going to come in the form of him, ripping a clapper top cheese. It's not going to come with a long stretch pass. It's just going to be, those, the smart plays, him using his size, him boxing guys out. But this feels like the big test of him now because they really need him. They need him to step up.
So I do think that he has been better of late. Like he started to get there for me. I knew he was going to be towards the area. I wasn't fully sure. So on October 21st, which was 7 games ago, was the game against the Devils after the whole Seattle kerfuffle of him just, a bystander, as Stolarz gets run over situation. But that next game against New Jersey, he played 21 minutes. And since then, he's only played under 20 minutes once, which was the Columbus nightmare of a game. And so in that 7 games, he's actually averaging 21-41 a night, which leads the entire team.
That's where he's going to realistically probably be at this point. Like he's had an interesting arc in that way in his career where like he logged the heaviest minutes of his career in his age 22 season and then ended up being used as sort of a less than 20-minute a night guy for the majority of his time in Boston. And now he's got this big role again.
Sorry, let me correct that. It's 8 games. It's not 7. So in 8 games, he's averaging almost 22 a night. Has a couple assists, +3. I know people feel here or there about plus minus, but by and large, I gotta stop saying I'm put a dollar in a jar every time I say it. But generally speaking, he's on the plus side of the puck's going in their net more than it's going in his net, which is obviously where you want it to be. Carlo's not going to do much that's sexy. Like he's not, he had a scoring chance in the slot against Utah, and I actually think my heart rate went down when he got the puck. It's like there's no need to be excited here. We know.
We're
We
still
know how it's
waiting
gonna
on the
go.
first Leafs goal. Not that's his
Yeah,
game, but like it
yeah.
doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime
He-
soon.
He's not going to do those kinds of things, right? And then, Fraser Minton's going to score some odd goal against, just being a forward because that's the nature of it. And people are going to go, oh man, we could have had that. Carlos
They've got
playing
enough
almost
bottom six forwards at the moment.
Carlos playing almost 22 a night. Like if you look at their defense right now without Carlo, disaster.
Yeah,
Like
there's
you
no
couldn't
right
do it.
side presence without
I,
him.
like I don't think people are grasping how bad their defense would be without Brandon Carlo right now. Not that he's the linchpin that's carrying the whole thing by any means, but he is a quality right-handed NHL defenseman. Their penalty kill ranks 11th. He plays a significant role in that. He's a really good penalty killer. He's just massive. His reach is good. His instincts are good. Other than that time against Seattle, he generally clears the net out well. Like a lot, there's a lot there. So, but he's not going to score. He's not, too much of a big hitter or anything like that. So he's not going to do those things that are going to excite people on night basis. But I am finding over these past few weeks, I've started to dial in on him a little more because he did struggle early, and I'm starting to come away generally more like, okay, he's good and he's playing well, and he obviously would want that Michael Carcone goal back with Lawson Krause there, and that was obviously not a good play.
Not
That was
good.
bad. That was objectively that was bad. But other than that, he
Well,
he's starting to even that Pittsburgh game. Like part of that game swinging for me was they switched him with McCabe. Like they put him and McCabe together, and they put Riley and Ekman Larson together. Like that was part of that game changing for me.
and I mean, they could play around with that. I think that, I'm not going to try and pretend like there's an advantage to having Tanev out because there isn't. He's a really great player and they miss him. But I think it will result in them playing around in game a little bit more, using a little bit more Riley, Ekman Larson when they feel like it's the moment to do that. Putting Carlo with McCabe in certain spots, even if they haven't been doing that all game, even if it's been more Benoit and McCabe, like there might just be an element of that kind of, sheltering Philip Myers at times, which, to give Myers some credit, like he's been okay too. Like he's him, like there's no ambiguity about what he is, but like he's been the version of him we basically saw last year. Um, and Murmis, I don't think we need to dive into because I'm kind of presuming Benoit's going to be fine, and we're not going to see
I
a
I
lot of
have been
Murmis in the near
disappointed.
future.
I have been disappointed in Mermis though. I will say it. He was fine last year. The 4 games that he got into, I was like, yeah, I'm fine with this guy. He could play left. His confidence looks completely shot. He looks terrified to make a pass on someone's tape. I'm watching him going like, I don't know if they could even trust you to competently play 15 minutes a night right now, the way you're going. Like that is a problem. Like they do need someone else that they can rely on. And in terms of Myers, you're right. Like he's as advertised. It's also on the no frills territory. I guess my issue is he's not necessarily what they need. Like I'm not looking at them going, "Hey, you know what this defense needs? Another guy who can't move the puck."
Yeah, that's valid. Like he's there as the seventh best defenseman on the team in theory. He's not there because he fits a specific niche. Like the fact that he's right-handed is helpful, but it's not like they're like, oh, we looked at the skill set of our guys and we found someone who's complementary to that skill set. They're like, no, we found someone who is a credible person we can put on the ice. Um, However, whatever percentage of games, last year he played a pretty high percentage of the games, nearly half the games. I looked that up today. I was kind of surprised. Like in my head, I thought he
Yeah.
played like 18 games and it was 36. I was like, oh yeah, true. He was around. And
Yeah.
that's what happens with the seventh defenseman.
Yeah. The issue is that he's just a lot of the same. Like they didn't have Brandon Carlo last year. So now you're like, oh, another big righty, which in theory you would generally like. But it's just the defense doesn't offer a lot, which is kind of funny when you look at it. McCabe has 8 points in 14 games. Like that's like a 47 point pace.
Yeah, it
Ekman
really
Larson's at
hasn't felt
9.
like that.
Ekman Larson's at 9. Riley has 10 points in 13 games. Like if another team had that, if I was saying different names of guys that in your head you think are more skilled, and I said, these are what their top 3 defensemen are doing production wise, people would say, yeah, sick.
Also, none of that's power play, really. Like
No, I mean,
normally, if you're saying
that's
another
part
team, like a power play points would be a factor in one of their top
that's
guys.
that's partly their fault as well. That's a
For
whole
sure.
story in and of itself. But I mean, you're looking at going, that's good production from their defense. That's something that they circled and said, like, part of us, quote unquote, replacing Marner is more production from the back end. And you can look at those top 3 guys, and so far anyway, and I'm sure it's going to go cold. Like, I don't think McCabe's getting 47 points this year.
I'd be
I will be,
surprised.
I will be thrilled if he gets 47 points this year. Not going to happen, but I'd love it. But I mean, I don't think they're getting like much respect or appreciation for their contributions. I will also say, look, I made it 5-2, so it's not going to get a ton of attention. But McCabe's play on the empty netter by Nyes against Utah, the way he erased the guy down low and then, you know, led a proper clean breakout, which led to a very easy empty net goal. That was a great play. That was
I feel like he's come on in the last handful of games. Like there was a time in this season where I was feel like I never really questioned. He's a really good player, and you're happy to have him. But it just felt like his play had fallen off a bit, and it's been a little
he
bit better in
he
as the
just
team has been better.
the past few weeks have looked to me like he started getting pissed off because they were playing like shit. And so he started picking it up. And that's like what an actual leader does. Like there were signs of it in terms of how active he's been against Buffalo, the way he's been joining the rush and making like a serious effort. Like the hit and the fight are what are going to get people's attention. But I saw like, I forget who, but someone was saying to me in the comment section on Hot Stove, like McCabe could pick it up, but like, no, like I think he's trying. Like I can see him. Like he's trying to like join the rush and like force things. Maybe a little bit too much at times, but like he's actively trying to force things in a positive way, which I was watching them and taking them as like that was his version of like trying to like push them forward and get things involved. And you're watching the way that he's skating up the ice and just looking to make things happen on his own. Like he even did it against Columbus. Like the Sammy Blaze goal, McCabe made a really nice play that led to that goal. They got absolutely filled in that game. So no one's going to sit there and be like, hey, remember that? But just the fact that he was kind of making those efforts, which you don't normally see him, right? Like they hit a mode last year, him and Tanev, where they were just like, cool, let's like block shots and box out the net. And then we basically don't exist after center ice. It seemed to me like there was a point here in October where he was like, I'm tired of us playing the way that we're playing, and I'm going to start forcing the issue more because this is making me sick. And that's what I like about McCabe. And now we're seeing that more from him. Like that was a nice goal against Philly. I
Yeah,
love
I'm
that goal
okay.
by a
I'm
D-man.
okay with him being a bit more like generally speaking, I'm okay with a little. I'm not a very risk averse person on a lot of things, and
Like in
so like I'm
life.
okay with these guys being a little bit more adventurous. The only guy I take exception with is occasionally Benoit. I mean, it's fun to watch, but like sometimes Benoit shit is absolutely
When
insane.
what he did against Pittsburgh for the first goal was certifiably insane. Him
Yeah, it's
trying to beat, and you know who it was? It was Connor Dewar. I'm like, you can't even go around Connor Dewar without a three. Like, who do you think you are? Like that's that conversation. Honestly, if you're the coach, for me, like he come on the bench, it's like, do you think you're Kale McCarr or Roman Yossi? It's not like if he went around Connor Dewar, you were sitting there going goal. Like Eric
no,
Carlson,
there's multiple steps after
Eric,
that to a
right?
goal.
Like Eric Carlson's a roller coaster, but at least if he gets poked off on a play like that, he could look at you and be like, if I went around him, that's a goal for us. Like, that's like it just was that one, split play or whatever, but it was a goal if I got it. Simon Benoit, you're like, I don't understand what you thought the payoff here was going to be. But
Yeah.
like you can never do that ever. Like I'm
Which I don't want
sorry.
to rag on him too much because I think he's actually generally been okay this season. I want to get to the forwards because like as much the defense is the group that has lost Tanev for some time, like this is Yeah, where it's an episode we're coming at people when they are on this winning streak.
First in the league, 5-on-5 goals. Toronto Maple Leaf Hockey Club without Mitch Marner. I thought the world was ending.
I thought we weren't talking about Mitch Marner, but
They can
yes.
also kill penalties without him. I am floored. I am floored they can kill a penalty without him. Anyways,
Yeah,
continue.
it turns out they have the personnel for that, but we have the the lineup is back. I do think it's worth touching on. I mean, for a couple things. One of them is Austin Matthews. That's a big one. I think we can. I don't know. We can leave that for a little bit later because that will go. That's some time on the clock for that. I do want to talk a bit about Easton Cowan and sort of where the forward lines are landing now, because we talked before about this sort of vision that Craig Berube had, and these were the lines he wanted, and it was Domi with Nyes and Matthews, that was McMann, Tavares, Nylander, and then the new guy line, and then he liked the idea of a Lorentz, Laughton, Cowan line as your fourth line that could do a variety of things. It wasn't just going to be a pure checking line. In theory, have some creativity. But what's happened now is that sort of like Nick Robertson inserting himself into the top six and producing last few games makes it impossible to remove him from the lineup. And so as a result, you can't have that vision. So now Cowan can't come in. Domi becomes the Cowan, which is pretty funny. And then you get this second line with Robertson and Tavares and McMann that if at the beginning of the year you told me that was the line, I'd be like, that's a ludicrous line. But first of all, Robertson's played well, give him credit. But I also think just Tavares.
Do we like Nick Robertson now? I don't know.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for that. But I think also Tavares has played so well this year that like I just assumed there'd be a pretty significant step back as he got older, and last year just felt like a bit of an outlier. And instead, like he does feel like someone who's capable of carrying a line without Nylander, which is a surprise to me.
Nonsense by you. It's JT.
I mean, he's going deep. No, but think about
guys aging like a fine wine. No, I'm just kidding. But you can see why. But he's also made, he made a career off doing this exact thing for 10 years. It really just pisses you off they never did this, which, you're kind of like waiting for these things to happen throughout this year where it's like, why didn't they do this when they had more guys? Like, JT could clearly drive a line on his own. He spent 10 years doing it on the island. Like, Matt Molson should still be sending JT a paycheck every week. It's absolutely criminal what he signed for in Buffalo. Like, JT should be getting like little Amazon gifts or something at his doorstep every week, courtesy Matt Molson. When you go look at his career earnings and how JT drove them. PA Parento, Kyle Okposo.
Let me rephrase what I said then. It seemed to me
you're saying because he's old that like it was gonna be time.
Like it's not just that he's old. Like before 2024 25, like the season before that 2023 24, like he did seem to be on a little bit of a downward trajectory. Then he bounced back, and so I thought coming to this year, age 35 season, I don't know. So, but also, not even the idea that Tavares couldn't drive a line, but like Nylander is the guy that you add to a line to supercharge it. It felt to me like Tavares was going to be the guy who needed that, not Matthews.
JT also shot a career low percentage that year. Like everyone was like ready to show up to his grave. I don't know. Like it bounced back last year and it's high again right now. Like it's a little bit higher than it was last year. I think it's like 19 something right now and it was 18 something last year. Like he's going to tick down. Like he's not, what's the 18 and 14 pace? Like 95 points or something? Like he's not.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's going to, especially if he's playing a Nick Robertson, Bobby McMann for any level of regular time period. But I will say, like, generally speaking, JT doesn't need much because he doesn't need much to score. Like, he gets a chance in the slot. It's probably a goal. And so what does he need? He needs guys that work hard and get him the puck and guys that he can, like, read off of and figure things out. And, like, Nylander is basically impossible for anyone to read off of because I don't think even Nylander knows what he's doing. It just kind of goes out there. He's like, all right, I think this is the move right now. But he's also good at holding the puck and finding guys. So it works with JT because Nylander just have the puck all night and JT doesn't really have to have it much and he'll figure it out. Now with McMann and Robertson, if nothing else, and this is what I do appreciate about Robertson, he works hard. Like
For
every
sure.
night, you can actually bank on him to work hard. Like he's gonna give you 110. And my issue with Robertson has largely been his vision, right? Like we talked about it in the preseason. I was like he's not a fun guy to play with because he's just shooting the puck from everywhere. Like you don't want to play with a guy like that. You're like, I don't give this guy the puck because he's just gonna shoot it. And he gets a shot, and then everyone's like, look at his Corsi or whatever. Like, who cares? He's not making like a real play. But over the past few weeks, as he's played with better players, he's actually shown some ability to genuinely move the puck and make plays. Like the backhand pass that he fed Matthews against Philly from the wall, like that was like
That's
actually
good
an unreal
stuff.
pass. Like
Yeah.
Matthews played with Marner for a long time, and you could tell he was looking at Robertson, and he's like, I'm not getting this puck. And then he did, and then he botched it because he was surprised. Right? It's like those are it's like those elements start to actually develop in Robertson's game. I know people are gonna sit there and say the defensive side of things, and I don't want to disregard that, but I think for Robertson, actually a large part of it's gonna be can you move the puck with these other guys? And it's like Bobby McMann, we also already know he can't move the puck. That's why he struggles at times. Like you move him up, and in theory, you like it. He's big, he's fast, and he can shoot, but he doesn't have the vision or the hockey sense. The reason it works with Nylander is again because Nylander will just freestyle and do his own thing. So all he's gonna do is eventually get you the puck, and you just shoot it. And if you score, you'll get a point and forecheck for him and get pucks out. But when he plays with Matthews, it's hard because Matthews wants to make plays and like make reads, and McMann just doesn't move the puck well enough amongst his teammates. But I don't know if look, that line's early, but you can kind of see the logic of well, if McMann forechecks and goes to the net and he's basically token big player on the line, and JT finishes and makes plays, and Robertson actually moves the puck, but also cashes in his own chances.
Well, when you
Like,
think of guys who are most likely to win puck battles on the lease, because it's not really going to be Robertson. Like he does try, but they're just like physically speaking, there are certain limitations that he has. He's small. He's not like crazy strong. That's just it is what it is. So like the guy.
small and he's weak.
Sorry, Nick. The guys on that line are John Tavares, who has like this massive track record of winning puck battles,
He's heavy. He's heavy.
and Bobby McMann, who is one of the bigger, stronger guys on the team. And so Robertson's deficiencies in that area don't show up as much. And I don't know, like sometimes we'll spend like 5 minutes talking about a line on the pod, and then like it's gone the next game. So I don't want to promise this is gonna be the way it's gonna be, but I do think that they seem to like do like loading up the Nyes Matthews Nylander.
Which that will have to change. It's fine. You're gonna roll it right now, but like you can't.
It's not
That's not a
ideal.
thing. That's
I
not a
think
thing.
I mean, this sounds like a broken record. Like, I genuinely think that like you just gotta give Domi a shot there, or he's useless on the team. Like him on the fourth line, I actually thought his game was okay. Like it was a little bit of
It
a
was.
chippy game he played alongside Lorentz and Laughton. It wasn't the worst game I've seen him play by any means, but it's just like throw one of those playmakers up with Matthews. And by one of those, I mean Domi or Maccelli, but really I mean Domi.
I don't want to get to talk too much about potential playoff stuff, and I want to see them play against better teams coming up, which is going to happen. But to me, you almost certainly can't have a playoff team where all of Nick Robertson, Matthias Maccelli, and Max Domi are in the lineup. You just can't. That's deeply, deeply unserious. I don't see how that ends in any positive which way for
Well,
anybody.
I think they kind of just figured Robertson wouldn't be, right? And,
Yeah.
there's a long way to go. And maybe Robertson's going to play himself out of this groove that he's in now. Obviously, I just haven't seen much of this. So it's an interesting development, but you can't count on it. But yeah, I don't think they ever imagined a world where like they're basically on every line, we're going to have one of those dudes. Like it's not, I mean, honestly, even having Maccelli and Domi on the same team is already problematic. Like there's a reason why Maccelli draws a healthy scratch when, and I've admitted that I have a soft spot for the player, so take that for what it's worth. But like, he on talent is not someone who should be drawing a healthy scratch on this team, but he's drawing a healthy scratch on the team based on the redundancy of the type of players they have.
I didn't even think he deserved to be healthy scratch that game that he
No.
was. I didn't think he was bad
And that's not to
against
say it's like a
Philly.
crazy outrage. Like, how could they even consider it? But like, just I don't think he deserved that. No.
I'm pretty sure he had a point against the Flyers too. Like he won a, I think on that McCabe goal, he won the battle to get it up to Tanev, and then they scored. And then they were like, go take a seat. And then he watched them play. Just, I don't think the first period was as bad as people think it was. Definitely not the first 10 minutes of that Pittsburgh game. Like on the rewatch, I was like, they were fine. Like it wasn't good, but it wasn't like, oh my God, what am I watching? But the second period was like the worst thing I think I've ever seen.
It,
It's top five. Like that
it
was a
was
horror movie.
horrendous. And
That
I
was
kind
a
of like
disgrace.
part of the thing I thought was so interesting about what was going to happen in the Utah game was like, is their bounce back against the Penguins going to matter to any degree? Like, is it going to be the sort of thing where someone's writing a column in months and they're like, that was a turning point where like they hit rock bottom and then they came back and won? And like, we don't know that yet. We've only seen them play one game. And it was good. But I was really fascinated in the Utah game
They
how
do
they're going
this
to come
every
out.
year, and people embarrass themselves every year. They're bad in October, and everyone's like,
Yeah, but this is a different team with different players. I don't think you can say, okay, they're going to do the exact same thing as they do in previous years. Like
but
it's a different situation.
until they don't, I think you do have to leave yourself some level of room,
Yeah, and I
which we
don't
kept
think
sitting here and doing for weeks. I was like,
yeah, we
I don't
didn't
know, until they do it in
bury them.
November. I'm not like too hot and bothered by it just yet. Like it's annoying and it's upsetting, and you would like to sit there once and be like, hey, maybe you could sit, maybe you could come out and play like you're aware of all the things that people are critiquing you about, and thinking you guys are going to fall apart without Marner and all this crap. And like, Matthews getting kind of slighted by the national media in terms of where he ranks in the center list. And you sit there and go, yeah, you'd like to see them come out and, give people a finger and be like, no, we're actually good. And then they go out and play like that. And it's upsetting and people get fired up about it. And I get it. Like I'm watching it. I don't like it. But until they do it in November, you just like take a deep breath. They're not out of the woods in November yet either. Just because they won 3 in a row to start November against what? The Flyers, the Penguins,
Yeah, the Penguins
and
aren't a real team, and
and
like
Utah on a back to back. I'm certainly not sitting here saying like, look, I told you, because there's a lot of hockey left to go this month. I'm just saying like you got to let it play out until American Thanksgiving at a minimum.
we still
Bef-
haven't seen them face like like a 2-3 game stretch against all good teams. Like it
the f-
hasn't happened yet in the schedule.
the funny thing is, and I don't want to like carry water for them here because I'm not sure where I stand on it either. But if you looked at the league right now, the Habs are second, have the second most points.
Well,
Jersey,
the
Pittsburgh,
Eastern Conference is
Utah.
insane in terms of like everyone being bunched up together.
But then hold on. So then Jersey, Pittsburgh, Utah, and Detroit are tied for the third most points in the league. So that's what? That's 5 of the top 7 teams in terms of total points, and the Leafs have played them. Now, I'm not saying all those teams are good.
Yeah, those
I,
teams
but
aren't real.
But part of what the league is at times is catching teams at certain points. And like you're still playing them when they're hot, like when they're playing well. And like I said, I don't want to say this in like a carrying water way for them, and I think they have a long way to go, and like agreed, like they need to play teams that I would consider quote unquote real teams, and I want to see how that goes. Teams that come to mind if you were so curious to ask. Florida, once they get healthy. Tampa, now that they've kind of turned things around and cleaned it up a little bit. Colorado, I wouldn't say Edmonton right now, but Edmonton will, they're another one in this territory of like, we don't care. It's
I think
October.
Vegas and Dallas are real teams.
I have no respect for Vegas. I will, no. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But Dallas, yes. Carolina, yes, who they're going to play this weekend. So I'm interested to see. I'm just like, for as much for everyone sitting here going like pillow soft schedule start the year. I'm like, I don't know. The teams that they're playing have racked up points, like not just against them.
The league does feel kind of squishy and mediocre right now. Like it does. It doesn't feel like there are a lot, we're like naming who's a real team and we're getting to like 7 or 8 teams. Like it doesn't feel like the
Yeah.
league is full of intimidating opponents at this
Like
particular moment. Like
like
you can see in the
Florida's
standings.
Florida's tied for second last in points right now, which is a little bit, let's go by point percentage. Like at some point we gotta like clean that up a little bit. They're 28th. They're tied for 20. Yeah, they're around that range. They're tied for 28th. No, because they didn't do the numbers correctly. So it'd be 30, 29, 28.
They're in the
They're
mid late 20s.
they're tied for 25th in points percentage. Now, look, Florida's going to be fine. It's going to be upsetting when they get everybody back and they go on some sort of heater and like firmly, plant themselves as the contender we all think they are. But I will say, at some point, you do dig yourself a hole that's too deep. They're not there yet by any means, and I'm sure they're going to be fine. You do run the risk eventually.
Well,
I'm
I think
not
that's
there
what we
yet.
would be saying about the Leafs. If they had just lost 3 games in a row as opposed to winning 3 games in a row, I think that would be a very real conversation we could be having.
The out with Florida is that they have been more injured, obviously, than the Leafs. Like they're
Yeah,
missing
for sure.
Barkov and Kachuk, and if the Leafs were missing Matthews and Nylander, or Matthews and Nyes, let's call it, I don't even know if we could watch them as a product. So
It would be just Nylander shifts as
it
from
would
an entertainment standpoint.
it would be tough. It would be a tough watch. But yes, I think back to the forwards. Nick Robertson so far is kind of like the big development, quote unquote. And you got to give it run right now to just say, like, is this something? Like, is this like actually something? Or are you just like having a moment in time? But he does look good. Like, I was really happy for him that he got like the game winning assist against Pittsburgh because he was one of their only good players the first 2 periods. And he got taken off that line. And I get why they did it. They're like, look, we're putting our top guys together because they need to figure it out. And the top guys did figure it out. So credit to them for at least not fully embarrassing themselves that night. But Robertson didn't deserve a demotion.
No, it wasn't about
And,
him. It was
yeah.
about we need our top 3
And
forwards out there because we're desperate.
and I'm sure that he gets that too. I'm sure everyone understands that, but it's still a shitty feeling. You're like, I'm sorry, I'm playing with $20 million beside me, and these guys are stinking it up, and I'm actually playing well, and I'm getting the demotion. Like that's still like you can't be human and that not piss you off to some level. So to watch him actually still dig in and get what ended up being the game-winning assist, I loved it. I was like, he earned this. Like that was a full marks effort for me. Like let's just see. Like you're basically just watching, going, let's just see. I think he'll be fine against a Carolina. I do. I don't like. I look at him against Carolina. And go, yeah, you should be good against that team. Like Sean Walker shutting you down. Like I think you'll be okay. It's against like Florida. That's a hard. It's hard for me to sit there and say like, yeah, I feel good about Nick Robertson going up against like Seth Jones.
Honestly, with him,
Aaron Ekblad.
what I'm curious about is he going to be allowed to fail? And this is something that I think you can learn a lot about an organization in general by who is allowed to fail. And one of the criticisms I've had for Berube on this show is that just like someone will have a bad game and then they're out of the lineup, or a line doesn't work for a game or 2 periods, and Berube's like, okay, we're changing this. And I wonder if Robertson has gotten grace such that, like, if he has a dud game, and like that's in the cards, sometimes you just have a dud game. If he has a dud game, does that mean like, okay,
Is he cooked?
you're
Is he
done?
cooked?
Like,
Yeah.
what is the level of leash with him? Because
And how bad is that game? Like, is it just like he fanned on a few pucks, or he actively could not get the puck
yeah,
out of
I
his
mean, like if
zone?
he scores 2 goals on his own net, maybe that's a little different. But just yeah, like a
Yeah.
generic.
It's
Maybe he's on the ice for a 5-on-5 goal. He has like one non-dangerous shot and doesn't make a difference in any other way. Like you should, if you're gonna build faith with a guy and like really try and experiment. This is an experiment. Can he play in the top 6? Then you kind of have to allow for that failure and not just pull the plug right away. But my instinct with Berube, based on what I've seen this year and based on the way he's seemed to feel about Robertson over the last year and a bit, is I just don't think there's going to be that capacity to fail and continue on.
I'm curious. Like I mean, I'm happy with how they've kind of handled the overall situation because look, so many people are ready to punt this guy, and like all summer, for a while now, I've been writing like, if he gets you 15 goals, like you still need 15 goals. Are you looking around at the rest of this lineup? Like you still need a guy like this guy can actually walk in. Other than their top four forwards, Robertson's the next guy from like if he has a scoring chance, like he's scoring. Like Maccelli hit him backdoor towards the end of a power play. And he probably should just pass it to Domi for a tap in, but he tried to shoot a 5-hole. And the second he got it, I was like, that should be a goal. Like I was like, goal. And he got stopped. I was like, not only did you got stopped, but it was Vitek Vanacek. Like the whole thing was like stunning to me. Like he's not automatic. Like this is not even a guy that scored 20 goals in the league, but you feel really good about Nick Robertson getting a scoring chance.
He's a real, he's a legitimate threat.
Yeah. And so like, I'm fine if they just kind of cycle through those 6 guys in the top 6 for now, to your point, like even if he has a bad game or, the odd night where Domi does have a good night and you move him up the way they did against Calgary. I love that too. It's like he had a good game. He was actually going that night and they moved him up towards the end and then they get rewarded. He scores the game winner. It's like, you need to do that with this lineup. Like this isn't a set it and forget it lineup. This is a little bit more of like who's rolling on any given night and you need to make some changes. And like, it's a fine line between I just want to jumble things around all the time, but also you need to be able to like figure out who's on and off on certain nights and kind of adjust guys accordingly. Because after 4 guys, there's essentially 8 of them that on any given night could be really good and help you or stink up the joint. And you just kind of have to like mash it and then find things that work and like problem solve basically. So I like that from Domi. I kind of like the way that they're like, even when they moved Robertson around, right? They're like, look, like you played well or whatever. I'm sure it's like, this isn't your fault. You're getting off this line, but we're still going to keep you with JT. You're still going to be in the top 6. Like we're keeping you in a situation to succeed. And then conversely, I looked too, because I want to talk about, as we're talking about forwards, I did want to mention as part of that Pittsburgh game and then bleeding off into the Utah game. It's like, I've seen this a few times now. Don't really like McMann with Joshua and Waugh.
It just feels like a lot of nothing. Like best case scenario, you're getting some offensive zone time that doesn't actually turn into any dangerous chances. Like they can bang around down there, but nothing's going to come of it.
I think people sit there, and I get it. They say it's 3 big guys. And who doesn't like 3 big guys on the line? Right? Like, yeah, like they can all skate. McMann in particular has wheels. They're big. They've all shown some level of ability to contribute in the National Hockey League. I see it on paper. In practice, I don't see it. I just look and I'm like, McMann doesn't move the puck. Like he doesn't.
There's no playmaking in that group. It's just like pucks on net and then hope there's tips or traffic or screens or rebounds, basically.
But they're not even like intelligent about the pucks on net or like you know what I mean? It's just like you need someone to like kind of think this through and carry. And like I like Maccelli there for that reason. Or even if it was Nick Robertson, it's just like, well, hey, like this is like a playmaker of some kinds that's gonna like try to do things. And basically you guys are gonna facilitate this guy having the puck. And he's going to kind of think through whatever's happening offensively. In the Utah game case, it was Maccelli, which is the line we called for preseason. Like, how is this not the line? But, Scott Laughton got hurt, so the whole lineup had to change. And you kind of like see it, like, this is what makes sense. Like, Maccelli is linking everything up. Again, like, he played with Lawson Krause and Nick Bukestad. Literally identical handedness to Joshua and Waugh. They're roughly the same size, too. It's like, this makes sense. Like, just play them as a line. Like, that's actually one line. Like, don't touch this line. Like, just play them together for 10 games.
Yeah,
and let's see what happens.
With it. Like, it's Maccelli just is the only one who needs to have the puck. No one else needs to have the puck. Have Maccelli have the puck. He'll figure it out. It's like, obviously, it's not at the same level of Nylander, but it's the same idea of Nylander, which is like hold the puck, wheel around.
Yeah, he's going to make plays. He's going to do
up high.
He's going to do a few things that are going to like drive you insane. But he's also slippery and he's going to find some lanes and just let him have the puck and dance a little bit. And I loved his goal. Like I loved the whole sequence with him and Joshua. That was great. I also loved Joshua going to give Stenlin a shot after. I think he thought that Stenlin had tripped up Waugh. I think it might have been the D-man, but then after the goal, Joshua went by and gave him a shot, and then it turned into a little something something. Like, good. Get a little more of this going. Like, I don't know if this is controversial. It's like we'll talk about Laughton too, because this will kind of bleed into like welcome back Scott Laughton. I'll take that penalty all day against John Marino. Like, sick and tired of this shit. Like, we can't sit here and complain about guys whacking the Leafs goalies and then also get mad when they plant a guy on his ass for whacking the Leafs goalie.
I mean,
He slashed Stolarz. Take a seat.
When Laughton returned to lineup, it really felt like he had been watching this shit and hearing about this shit and feeling like when I'm back, he's one guy and I'm not gonna be like, this is the toughest man who ever lived. Like, he can't change everything, but it certainly felt like when he returned to lineup, he was like, if I'm in this game, I can at least rise to that a little bit. And he did. Like, his presence was felt in that way.
He was mixing it up. Like, he was a factor. Just like a little bit of emotion. I heard Craig Berube mention like something along the lines of like, I like the chatter behind our bench. Like, he's got a heartbeat out there. And I just to return to the goalie thing, like, this is what bothers me. It's like Laughton takes the penalty. Fine. He hammered him. It's a penalty. I get it. But the slash should have been a penalty too. They don't call that. Okay. But and then the Leafs had a great kill. Like, that's the perfect penalty kill you want to see in that situation. Our guy stood up for our goalie because we're tired of this crap. We're going to kill this penalty off for him. I don't even know if Utah had a shot on net, maybe one. Like, that was a great penalty kill. Great penalty kill. The exact kind of like, these are the things like people like fantasize them if like other teams do this. It's like, look, like they hammered that guy for touching their goalie and then they had a nails penalty kill and then they also won the game pretty handily. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see. But what annoyed me is the rest of that game, Utah bumped their goalie multiple times after that, including that time with Barrett Hayden where Jake McCabe was basically like hacking and slashing him in front of the net for like 15 seconds off the puck. But you could tell the Leafs defense was kind of like, it's like, how many penalties can we get for this? And that's fair. Like, I'm not blaming the Leafs defense here at all. I'm saying what upsets me is now you have Stolarz gets whacked the first time. You give the Leafs the penalty for standing up for their guy. And then Utah is just allowed to continue to do whatever they want to him. And the officials do nothing. And the Leafs defense kind of like, well, if we touch him, we're going to get a penalty because that's the standard you set. And it's just a shit show. And the Leafs never come out and just call it for what it is because that's garbage. And it bothers me how we've talked about this last year. It's bothered me for years, like how they handle the officiating standards in this league. The John Tavares penalty was objectively awful. Awful.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you could hear it on TV. The Utah bench screamed when the sticks went up, and then the ref standing right beside their bench put his hand up. Not the ref that was right there. The ref standing beside the Utah bench put his hand up after, I'm pretty sure it was Clayton Keller who stood up. It's hard exactly for me to see who from my vantage point, but somebody screamed. Pretty sure I saw Clayton Keller standing up because it didn't look much different than the guy sitting down. And then the ref's hand went up. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And you could see Matthews, I don't know if they showed that on TV either. Matthews had like a full conversation with the ref after. Like, Matthews was pissed. Like, I don't think some of this stuff gets like as much attention as it should, but it's like the gamesmanship of what's going on. Matthews, like, before the puck drop, when like right up to the ref, was like pointing up to the scoreboard, like animated. You could tell he's like, this is a joke. Like, he was pointing to the Utah bench.
It was objective. Like, there's no judgment call there. Like, it was flat out wrong, right? Like, it's not even a matter of, oh, I'm going to be stricter than another ref would be, and this is an inconsistent standard of officiating. Like, it was just straight up incorrect.
No, but then you look at it and it's like, well, then the Leafs still get penalized even though their goalie gets whacked. The penalty count in the game was 3-1 in favor of Utah. Utah was allowed to touch their goalie a bunch of times. Nothing. And it's like, to me, when you win those games, it's a good opportunity for you to come out and be like, what is that? Like, that's garbage. And like, they don't do it. It's like, I go back to the Philly game. And again, that Philly game is probably just like it's probably like a deleted scene in a movie, you know, like nobody knows it existed because the Jays were playing in game 6 of the World Series. The final like 4 minutes of that game was like criminal officiating. Like, but like no one was watching it. So I don't think they understood like what happened. Like the Leafs were up 4-1 and Benoit gets like gets smoked into his own goalie. And he's pissed about it. So then he goes and like tackles the guy back basically. And they're kind of like grappling a little bit on the ice. And they just give Benoit a call. And Craig Simpson, who is like at best neutral, but if more so anything, shades to the other team because they don't want to show homerism towards the Leafs. Before that whole sequence started, Philly ran a massive pick on Matthias Maccelli up top, which like started the sequence of the play. And Craig Simpson was like, I don't know how this wasn't a penalty. Craig Simpson, like, maybe has done that like 10 times in his like broadcasting career. It was like, I legitimately have no clue how this wasn't a penalty. The Leafs should be on a power play right now. They don't call it. They call Benoit, even though he got smoked into his own goalie off the puck, even though both guys engaged. Just Benoit. Philly scores 4-2. Okay. Philly gets the puck back. And you might have saw the Ekman-Larsson hit. I forget who it was on Philly that he hit. But people probably saw the sequence where Anthony Stolarz goes in and grabs Trevor Zegras out of the pile, kind of has his arm around him and stuff. Ekman-Larsson throws a hit. It's for sure a penalty. It's 10 out of 10 times penalty. Tyson Forster skates over, hits him once. Fine. Fair enough. He boarded your guy from behind. Then he gets both hands up and hits him again in the head. And Ekman-Larsson goes down. And then he gives him another little shove while he's down. That is also a penalty. Like, head contact on a second hit is a penalty. It is. Like, you can't explain to me, Nick, how that's not a penalty.
I'm not making these calls. I'm not disputing any of this.
But where are the Leafs in all of this? They have the biggest presence of anyone. And they constantly take this shit like year after year. And it just pisses me off. Like, this is the Leafs' fault as far as I'm concerned. It's not like Craig Berube ever comes out and he's like, this is a joke. Like, someone explain this to me, why this is a penalty. And if you come out and you do it after a loss, it just sounds like you're whining and it's sour grapes. They won that game. Like, that's a perfect opportunity to come out and you're like, why? Like, every year we're at the bottom of the league in power plays. Every year. And this stuff happens. And if it was the other way around, if William Nylander got boarded from behind and then Matthew Knies came in and smoked the guy that did it, Matthew Knies is going to the penalty box. For sure. That is coincidentals at best. The Leafs might even be on a penalty kill after that. And and this is just this week, Nick. Like, it's all the time. And I'm just like, I get it. You don't want to sit there and like complain. And hey, if I thought Craig Berube was just keeping the bullets in the chamber for like, you know, like February to like come out and be like, I'm sick of this shit and like list off like 15 things, I'd be like, fine, don't say a word. Let's wait for the ticking time bomb with Craig Berube.
PowerPoint presentation with slides and video clips.
It's not coming though, Nick. It's never coming. It will never come. They just sit there and they take it. And I'm like, guys, like, this is gamesmanship. Like, I've said this a million times. Like, there was nobody whined harder than Paul Maurice after Evan Rodriguez got boarded from behind by Scott Laughton in the playoffs. Whined for 48 hours. He whined about it every time a mic was in his face. And that guy does not need much to whine in front of a microphone. He ran with it. Because that's what these other teams do. It's all about gamesmanship with them. Like, when they played Tampa in the playoffs, John Cooper was like playing it like a fiddle. Remember how mad he got at Sheldon Keefe, like after the first game where there was like a million penalties because after Sheldon Keefe said the series was going to be like a bloodbath? And like Cooper came out after that and was like, I don't know why the hell he said that. Like, I don't know what this guy's doing. And like the whole series flipped eventually on like what they called and didn't call. And then Tampa took over because that's, you know, how it goes. But I'm saying like this, what I'm proposing is not new. I'm saying the Leafs don't do it. And it bothers me. It bothers me that they accept these things as like a status quo. And then at times we'll sit here and be like, they're soft. Why didn't they stand up for their goalie? And then at times I see it. And then people are like, well, why did Scott Laughton get a penalty? I'm like, take the penalty, run him over. But like, do a better job of managing this because like what is overall happening here is unacceptable. Anyways,
It
that's my
is.
rant on this. It just it drives me insane, Nick. I'm sorry. Like I can't. Like it just drives me insane.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I think that I struggle with going too far into the rabbit hole with that because I agree with you in the sense that it isn't something that is totally unchangeable, and there are things that they could do differently, and they could kick up more of a fuss. It's just it's hard to know exactly how that would play. And you are right in that other coaches have done it and they have done it to great effect. But there's also like, the Toronto situation, it does feel a little bit like there's a fear of seeming to be pro Toronto. I think that exists kind of in media. And I don't know, in terms of officiating, it's hard to say. It's probably on a person to person basis. But yeah, the
The
same things.
the Leafs are third last in the league right now in drawn penalties.
And that's pretty consistent. Like we've seen, that's not just this year. That's year in, year out. But I struggle to spend as much time with it because it does feel like one of the things they're less capable of changing. And I do think, not that we have a strict timer here, but I do think there are a couple of
But
things we need
I
to
will
make sure we
say
get to.
last note on that as we get to those things. But then lean into it. If they were like, you know what, like we're gonna get called all the time, then go out there and just run guys over. And like it is like what Florida does to such a high level is they just lean into it so much that they're like, you can't call everything.
Yeah, and I
Like,
mean, you and I are both Seattle Seahawks fans, and that was a huge amount of their success when in their glory days is
yeah.
that they would just hold opposing receivers every play, and it's like, what percentage of times you're going to throw a flag? Like, this is still going to be an
Yeah.
effective strategy.
Think about all the interference the Florida defense ran on the Leafs last year in the playoffs. We kept talking about it. They're like, did they dump the puck and they can't even get to the puck because like Seth Jones would stand there and like bear hug you at the faceoff dot. And they're like, we're doing it every play and you're not going to call it. And they didn't. And it's like this like in between land where it's like we're going to eat shit on this all the time and we're also like not going to like fully lean into it and it's just going to accept it on both ends. It just doesn't do it for me like over the long term. Like I just yeah, like I don't know. I like it's something there has kind of got to change. But to the note of Scott Laughton, that's why I partly like the gamesmanship that he brings. He's like, I don't care. I'm tired of watching these guys slash our goalie. You can take a seat. Like you do it, you can take a seat. Like I like that little like jam that he brought. It was nice to not have Domi at center. You know, like I like him and Lorenz have like actual chemistry or whatever that means between two like fourth line guys. I don't know, but like they work well
Yeah,
together clearly.
there's something there. And if you do put someone quasi offensive with them, like especially Lawton, maybe less so Lorenz, like you are going to get the occasional offensive contribution. I don't
Yeah.
know if Domi's that guy. Cowan, there's a reason why they liked him there in that spot. Obviously, Cowan back in the AHL now. It
Do we want to talk Cowan? You want to
I
talk
think
Cowan?
so. It makes sense big
Yeah.
picture to me, right? Like they have all these healthy players. He's waivers exempt. Um, it does feel odd though. Like again, talking about like who's allowed to fail before and having these quick twitch reactions to everything you see on the ice. Like, it didn't seem like too long ago that Easton Cowan was people were talking about how good he was going to be with Tavares and that he was going to be on PP1, and then next thing you know, he's getting scratched and he's down in the AHL. And like if you look at his time on ice per game, like these are the last 4 games he played: 954, 1723, 1239, 1042. Like
The 17 was the Columbus game,
it was
right?
a Columbus game. Yeah,
Yeah. Just for reference, they got their ass handed to them that night.
for sure. Like context matters, but
Yeah.
he'd been bumped. He'd played on every line you can imagine on this team. He'd been on, like the first power play extremely briefly. Like it just didn't feel like there was a plan for him, which is weird because it feels like Berube liked him. And I don't think there's a need to be like do a huge rant on this because ultimately the AHL is probably the best place for him to develop at this point. But I liked what he brought. Like I found my opinion of him went up over those 10 games, not down. And if I were him, if I were in his shoes, I think I would be a little bit frustrated about feeling like I was kind of getting yanked all over the lineup and not having a chance to settle in.
There was no plan. That's why it bothered me. And that was throughout the time. I would just say I think he should start in the minors and prove without a doubt that he can dominate that league. And if he can, then you make room for him at some point here and off you go. You're right, though. He was better than I expected. I did like certain things about him. I thought he was really good in that Philly game, so it's disappointing that like his second last game, he was really good. And then he gets like sent down shortly after that. I just, to your point, it's like, yeah, like I'd understand. It's like, well, I got jerked up and down the lineup. Like, like I got jerked around here. And like, how am I supposed to like settle in with like proper line mates and chemistry and all those things? I just, part of the reason I didn't want him here in the first place is because it's like these other guys need time. It's like Matthias Maccelli needs time. He had 18 points last year. Can't say this enough. 18. That's so bad. Like Steven Lorentz had more.
We don't need to spend so much time emphasizing how shit Maccelli was.
It was like I do though. I think we do because like you started him on like line 1. It's like this man needs to be built back up. He just got outscored by Steven Lorentz last year. Like he has what? Maccelli has 7 points already, so he's almost halfway there. And if guys were actually cashing chances, he should have like 12 points already. Maccelli, like he's almost there already.
He's gonna get there. I feel pretty good about it.
Like over under. Is he getting there before Christmas?
Yeah, I think so.
So 11 more points. Yeah,
soft spot acknowledged, but yeah,
right. But like he needed, like he's gonna be there. Like he needed time. He's gonna be there. Dakota Joshua starting to see signs of life. My favorite Joshua play is honestly that he went after Stenlund after the Maccelli goal. It's like that's what I want to see from him. Like he's a pretty good penalty killer. He's good defensively. He'll score the odd goal, chip in the odd point. But like I need to see him like show a little bit extra. Like they didn't bring you in to just be this like 6'3", like 30-point winger. Like they brought you in to be disruptive and to like play the game within the game. Like that's the kind of stuff I need to see from him. But again, his roster spot's here. Like he's not going anywhere. Nick Waugh's roster spot's here. The top 4 forwards, we're not going to talk about them. We all know who they are. They're not going anywhere. So at best, you can say the emergence of Nick Robertson, quote unquote, kind of pushes Cowan off. But like the roster spot was always tough. And like if you ask, we talked about it in preseason. It was like, who do you think are going to be better this year? Easton Cowan or Nick Robertson? And we were both like Nick Robertson. And that was before like he actually started playing well. So like I don't know, there's no real surprise here. Like you could say he's better than Bobby McMann. He doesn't bring what Bobby McMann brings, which we've already talked about that too, like 4 episodes ago. So it's like he was never really like he would have had to like unequivocally beat one of these guys.
Or guys get hurt, right? They end up with more healthy. Like normally at this, and guys did get hurt.
That's why you start him in the minors and go light him up. It's like someone gets hurt 20 games in, and you're looking, you're like, Cowan is 22 points in 20 games in, and whatever. I'm not going to put a name out there because I don't want that karma on them, but player X breaks their leg. Easton Cowan, come on up, buddy.
Oh, I agree with you. And I wanted him to start in the minors too. And I think the overall arc of the story is not surprising. Like with him being waivers exempt, with the way other guys are playing, the way Robertson kind of ate his spot, like it all makes sense broadly to me. It just kind of the way what happened while he was here that was just a little bit odd, especially considering how much Berube seemed to like him along the way. I'm like, you didn't treat him.
It was
like
always odd. This is not like a in retrospect. It was odd the whole time. I was like, why is this the plan? Like, especially here, it's not like you're Florida and you're just like, oh, Mackie Samaskovich is up. Let's just see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, we'll send him to like our made up farm team. Like it's Toronto. It's like everything is magnified. Like you want guys up when they feel really confident, like when they feel like pros. Like it's really hard to learn the league unless you're like Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner good. Those are the only 2 guys that did it in that era. Even Willie went down to the A. And he's a superstar. Like all these guys went down. The one thing that they don't do, which is insane, is like they never have like their top defense prospects like properly develop in the A, right? Like Luke Shen didn't. I don't think Morgan Riley did.
I don't think so.
Like
I mean, they
Morgan
haven't
Riley's
had a
played
lot of good defensive prospects in the last
no,
decade and a half,
but
to be fair.
right. So all I'd say is like it just. I just wish I felt like they were sat there with like an actual plan, and instead of it feeling like the fans, right? They're like, oh, like he played like some pretty good preseason games. Like, let's keep him up for a little bit and see how it goes. It's just like, no, like, look, this is the best thing for him. Like, send him down to the minors, get comfortable being a pro. You're going to play a ton. You're going to play 20 minutes a night. You're not going to wonder if you're in and out of the lineup every week. You're going to play power play. You're going to play PK. You're going to close games if we're up a goal. You're going to close games if we're down a goal. You play all these situations all the time. And then if and when you show us you're ready, we'll bring you up and you will never go back and ride a bus ever again in your entire life. And that will be the end of it. And instead, it's like the situation where it's like, he had an okay preseason. He wasn't great. It wasn't like he was a point per game guy in preseason, let alone, multiple points or like well over a point per game or scoring a bunch of goals or any of that stuff. Right. And it's like, yeah, come up. And, I think people are going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, he learned so much in October that he's going to like take down with him. It's like, no,
Well, that's because that's what he'll say, and then that'll
of
show up in
course
an article written by
he,
somebody, and then that'll become the perception. But that doesn't
there's
necessarily mean
not
it's true.
there. I don't want to say there's nothing. There's very little that he learned that's ultimately going to be important to his career. The most important thing that could have happened for his career is ample ice time and puck touches in pro hockey. Nothing that happened with him up with the Leafs in October would have been more valuable than him playing 20 minutes a night and touching the puck a million times and hopefully lighting it up. Like
And we're,
that's actually
I
important.
mean, I guess, on a delay, we're probably going to see that, or we'll see how well that goes. On that note, one of the guys he won't be playing with down there seems to be David Kampf. It's
Oh yeah.
probably worth a brief note on the Kampf situation while
I
we're still here. It is an interesting one because, as we record, there's some kind of drumbeat of like, oh, this is a guy who's going to take a chance on himself and leave his contract. I personally am very skeptical of that. Like, he hasn't
I
made
don't
much
I don't
money.
think so. I don't think
There's too much money left on the deal. Like, if you're him, if I were his agent, I would advise him against doing that. Just take the money.
agreed. I think that it's wishful thinking. It would basically be a get out of jail free card. It would be incredible for the Leafs.
Oh, fantastic.
And I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much money left on his deal. It doesn't make any sense for him to do it. What would he sign for? $1 million?
Something in that range.
Right? So he's going to give up like $3 million to sign for one. Kind of, like
Yeah.
he could, and you could say, well, maybe he signs for another million next year. So now it's like, it kind of like shades into a range. Like, I don't know if he's going to get, like, he
He'd
might
have
not
to
get a
actually play
contract.
well wherever he went. Like, he couldn't just go where he was going to go and then just be totally unnoticeable. Like, he'd have
Yeah.
to go somewhere and have some success to earn a real contract for
Yeah.
the
Like, he'd have to,
future years.
and the tough thing for him is like he couldn't just like go to a team like Seattle that's kind of in nowhere's land and like be like fine. Like he's gonna have to like go to like a good team. So one, a good team's gonna have to be interested in him. And then he's gonna like have to play well because like the things that he does is not gonna like he could go to Chicago tomorrow. It's not gonna matter. He's not gonna produce enough. And that team stinks. Like, they're not gonna be like, wow, you're looking at the D zone draws David Camp is taking out in Chicago. But if he did it for like I always thought a team that made sense for him was LA. Like LA could use like a 4C like him. And if LA was good and you were sitting there like, wow, like Camp is actually like helping their PK and like cleaning things up for them defensively and like whatever and like they're winning games. It's the only way he's going to get noticed to a point where he signs like again like to make it all worthwhile. It's an extremely hard bet to make.
It would be like a kind of an emotional decision where he's like, I'm fucking sick of this shit. I want to
Yeah.
play in the end. Like, it wouldn't be the best money making decision. And I think a lot of Leafs fans are sort of wish casting on it just because it would be such a good situation for the Leafs to just get off that money for nothing. But we also,
Where
saw in the offseason, if there was a ton of interest in him, there might have been a way to trade him and retain some money and whatnot. And there did not seem to be that interest out there.
he went on waivers, he was free for everybody. Nobody took him. Where it would get interesting is if he just refuses to report to the Marlies in general, and if the Leafs pursue a contract termination at some point for failure to show up. Like, I
But
don't
then
know if they
I have to
would.
believe that he would sort of come back and prevent that from happening.
That would be quite the ego move by his end. I'm sure they're just kind of letting the dust settle right now. It's like, all right, like you need to cool down and whatever. The tough thing again is it kind of reminds me of that time that Sheldon Keefe healthy scratched him in his last season. And it was like, first of all, he should have scratched like a real player. Also, as an aside, if you listen to Sheldon Keefe talk now, it's kind of like upsetting that he's like, he's gone through Toronto and now he's like learned how to coach. Like I heard him the other week calling out how bad they are defensively, and he's like, "We're not going anywhere if we don't fix this." I was like, "You were here for 5 years. I would have killed for that." So, anyways, he healthy scratched Kampf, and I'm like, "Well, what's Kampf gonna do when he comes back in the lineup?" Like at some point, let's say the Leafs have a few injuries, they call up Kampf. Like what's he gonna do? He's not gonna like get into like a fight or like put up a couple points or like, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna take D zone draws. He can be good defensively. Like I value that personally. They're not going to be like, wow, David Kampf was in great position there.
Like,
And they didn't
yeah,
give
I
up a
mean,
scoring
the
chance.
one thing the Leafs have is a bunch of centers, like, which is weird. That's not how it's
Yeah.
always been. But like, he's like the exact type of player that they don't have. And you could move Laughton to the wing. Like, there'd be a way to play him in the lineup if you were dying to do it. But like, we just spent however many minutes talking about how plugged
Yeah.
up this forward group
And
is.
and bottom line, like the Leafs really should not retain salary to trade him, and they also should not attach anything to get rid of him. Like it's just kind of a stalemate for me. I'm like, I don't think the Leafs can actually do anything with this. It just kind of is what it is. It sucks for everybody. But I think maybe that's where the contract termination talks, because like your talk comes from. It's because it's like, hey, if he's not going to do it, then I don't really see how this ends any other way right now. There's too much money on the deal, and there's not enough demand for it.
Yeah, if this were the last year of his deal, I could see him doing it. But with that one other year left on it, it's tough to imagine. I don't want to make this an endless edition of the podcast. So I think we might need to put a pin in Austin Matthews because that is a bigger and broader conversation. But I think that we can agree, and I'll give you the last word
Yeah,
on Matthews, that like all the things we were kind of waiting for the last couple of weeks, like we want to see X. And I'm not saying he's been going out there dominating games, but just ensure in terms of having that danger from areas that other guys aren't necessarily dangerous from and just beating goalies, he's gone out and done it in 3 consecutive games, got the kind of goals you're looking for. I don't think anyone should be saying like, oh, Matthews is going to have a 69 goal pace from here on out and any concerns from the past sort of year and a month are wiped away. But this is about as encouraging as it's been for quite some time. And that is worth noting here.
yeah. I don't want to say he's done everything that I'd like to see just yet, but I also don't want to criticize the guy and then not acknowledge when he is playing well. Like the third period against Pittsburgh, what I expect from like a superstar of his caliber. It's like, all right, like I've had enough of this shit. Like we're winning this game. Like that's what that was to me. I was like, all right, like that was embarrassing, and I will be fixing this, and he did that, and Nylander too. Like Nylander was unreal in the third period. I want to see more of that. Like the goal against Utah was like no doubt. Like you kind of go through it, right? And you're starting to see like those signs of, Philly, same way. It's like, all right, like this, let's not write this guy off yet, to the way levels. But the thing that I want to see, like the outstanding thing I think moving forward is like, it's like you can't be playing with Nyes and Nylander, man. Like you can't get both. Like I'm sorry. Like you can get one. You can't get both. Like this team's not deep enough for it can't be both all year. It's got, Maccelli set up his goal against Utah. Like, guys can get you the puck, guys can do other things. Like, you got to figure out. I know it takes time to like build chemistry with guys. I'm sure he himself is looking around. It's like playing with Nick Robertson. This guy averaged like 11 minutes a night last year and had like under 20 points. And Matthews is a superstar. It's like you don't see Nathan McKinnon playing with the equivalent of those guys, right? Like, if you look at Tampa, it's like Point, Gensel, Kucherov. Like those guys aren't. They're not like they're not putting Pontus Holmberg up there for shifts. So, I think there's a fine line of like how much can you expect from Matthews when he's playing with guys of that caliber compared to when you look around the league at most stars. But, and that's the big the big but is like, can you bring along one guy? And like if Nick Robertson is playing this well, like he can be that guy. And like Max Domi has been that guy at times. And like whatever. Like I get him and McMann is a little bit like oil and water because Matthew's trying to make plays and McMann isn't thinking through a single thing.
No, that's never been a fit that's made sense.
Right? So I get that there's certain scenarios in there where you're like, this is probably dumb. But like the eventual step for me for Matthews, like you can't have both. But it's awesome to see you shooting the puck. It's awesome to see you hopping the boards and like looking dangerous regularly, just generally being yourself out there, just being a weapon, like being a massive, massive problem for teams. Like he's starting to move well. Like he's having a few rushes a game where he's like actually carrying the puck through the neutral zone and like from blue line to blue line and like making plays. The PK, he looks dangerous. Like his PK in the third period against Pittsburgh was unbelievable. Springs a 2-on-1, wins the 2 different battles, like all these things. I was like, holy cow. That was like the first time where I was like, man, like Matthews like on like great on this penalty kill. Like really, really good. It just, yeah, eventually you just want to, always feels like you're asking for more from him, but like, hey, that's the nature of the business when you're one of the highest paid players in the league and one of the best paid players in the league. Like the expectations are insanely high. It's nice to like, I think you kind of definitely look at the week a little bit so far and say like, exhale, like it's like, it's going to be okay. Like
I think it's not
he's a good player.
everything, but it's something. And yeah, it was important, I think, for us to touch on that, like you said, because we've been pretty critical over the last couple of weeks. If he continues to play that way, I'm sure we will have a healthy and robust Matthews segment next week that is less of just a throwaway at the end. We do really appreciate everyone who listens in. We appreciate more when you leave ratings, reviews, things like that. And we'll be back with you again next week.